like I said, it's very hard for small companies to break into this space, which is why it's interesting that the people that you are seeing who might be disrupting the space are Apple and Walmart, of all people.
Yeah, I mean, and these are two. So you have Apple Pay, right, which is a payment system that operates over the iPhone. And then you have Walmart's kind of. I think when we were looking at it, it looks like it's in a very early stage. It looks like in its beta phase. But currency, these are two very different things. And so here's the interesting things about Apple Pay. So when you think about Apple Pay, you think like, well, this clearly must be really disruptive, right? But what Apple Pay is fundamentally, and this is kind of how Visa explains it, is that it's just an on-ramp onto the existing infrastructure. So typically when you go to the store, you just use your credit card, right? You'd swipe it or you'd put it in one of those horrible chip readers that they're still trying to figure out how to make them take less than 2 minutes to process the information. But and then that's how you would access their network. Well, now with Apple Pay, the way it works is that you just put your Visa, your MasterCard, or your American Express, or Discover, or whatever it is, onto Apple Pay, and then it just uses near field communications to just do the same thing that you would be doing if you swiped your card. So it's just another way to access the existing infrastructure.
Yeah, which is really interesting, right? Because that kind of how disruptive is Apple Pay ultimately, right? Like maybe we get rid of our physical credit cards and that's it, right?
Right, and the other thing to keep in mind is that like if it's not one way to get a sense of how disruptive Apple Pay in particular is to look at what Visa, MasterCard, and these companies think about it, right? And when you look at Visa, MasterCard, and Amex, they're all on board with Apple Pay.
Oh yeah, they love it because it just means more payments for them, which is ultimately what they want.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So to them, they're seeing it as a benefit. But here's the thing, and we were talking about this before the show, is the question is like in the short term, right? It seems like a great way for Visa, MasterCard, and American Express to boost up their payment volume, to make payments easier, to reduce the amount of, the percentage of payments that are still to be done over cash and shift that over to their networks. So it seems like a great way to do that in the short run. But here's the question, right? Over the long run, let's say that Apple Pay really takes off, right? And let's say that everybody adopts this, right? With iPhones, the more people buy iPhones because they want to have access to it and all these different things. Well, at that point, then if you have them, a large share of all purchases going over Apple's network, that puts Apple in a really strong competitive position vis-a-vis MasterCard, Visa, and American Express. And you just have to wonder that, if Apple is able to position itself like that, if it would eventually start to charge more for using that on-ramp, if you will, to the existing payments network.
Yeah, it's definitely really interesting.